So why are teams resisting AI? That's the question that I receive a lot. And the first thing I want to say is that the leadership success and the measure of success for a leader is not in their ability to make decisions. It is in how the environment is shaped for their teams to make higher quality decisions because of their leadership. And so I'm going to walk through a framing that walks you through how to understand the behavioral responses of your team and using those as indicators. And if you are familiar with my work, I often say resistance is not that people are not wanting to change or transform. That means that there's a lack of clarity, there's a lack in how the systems are designed for them to feel empowered to make decisions without a retaliation or crossing over someone else's boundaries. Because as we are adapting AI within a lot of these organizations, people are making improvements that goes across different functions. So versus the siloed where I do this work, you just do this work, it requires cross-functional collaboration. So if teams are used to waiting for another role to make a decision before they're able to make a decision, there will be a delay in the momentum that you seek to have. And it appears as resistance, but it's more in how the system is designed. So I do want to walk you through a framing just to show you how are you enabling people to make sound decisions and what about the behavior response of your team reflects the type of environment that you are creating. And it's not whether you're a good or bad leader, it is how you are determining or how you are allowing that improvement to be. So the goal is to make your not to make to enable your team to make decisions without requiring you to provide an answer. So in resistance, we're going to start with resistance. So in resistance, that typically means that teams are waiting. So picture this as level one, two, three, and four. So these are four of the 11 pillars that I speak to with my clients. So in the first, we have if the response is waiting, which is appeared to be resistance, then that means that the leadership environment that's being established is a controlling leadership environment. And then here on the organizational outcome, that means that there's slow execution. So people often ask, like, why am I stalling? Why am I not having the momentum that I need to have in leading this change? Well, if people are waiting in which is waiting for another meeting to happen, waiting for to be empowered, waiting for a conference, a town hall, then likely that means that the leadership environment is controlling and they're used to waiting are having to wait on the ability to make decisions, even if they are viable decisions that improve the quality of work, improve or add value to or bring a customer advantage rather, but a competitive advantage, and then impacting the customer experience. So that is what's happening. If you're seeing them in the wait, that means there's a controlling leadership environment that is taking place, and it's all about how the systems are designed. The way the results you are getting are a perfect reflection of how you are designing systems or reorganizing, not reorganizing, redesigning how decisions are being made, who is able to make decisions, especially with AI. There are people who are uncomfortable making changes because of they're unsure if they're phasing their own rollout. That's one of the concerns. They are and also they are used to waiting for the ability to make a decision. So even if they are encouraged to use AI, they will use it for task specific improvements versus a strategic improvement, something that you can report as a transformation of how your team is adapting AI and all of those things. So let's go to the second level, and that is direction. So the direction is where the team response they follow. They if you're giving them the tools and you notice that they are following it, it's still not a higher level of transformation as far as the outcome of having consistency, but you do get a consistency in how you're communicating to the team. The third area is enablement. So the third is more of a higher tier in the type of organizational transformation that you have. The way that the team responds is their thinking. So are they having conversations about improvement? Are they sharing best practices in a way that brings thinking of what are some possibilities of how we can do this? So they're actively having these conversations versus up here, they're waiting to have these conversations because they're in a controlling leadership environment. think, and then in here in the outcomes is improvement. So when they're having ideation around something that can improve how a role is done or how improve how the quality of work that they're working on, each person is sharing a best practice. Now you're starting to get people to think, and you see them leading to an improvement outcome. Transformation is the highest level of the highest level of how a leadership environment can bring consistency, but as well as innovation. So this is the goal, is to transition from controlling to a transformational environment. So transformation means that the team response is leading, and they actively know how they can make decisions. They know when to include you as a leader if there are decisions that impact budget or even the onboarding of another software tool, if it changes structurally how work is done, or if it changes even a customer outcome, that this is like those things are defined where they're comfortable making those decisions. And then that leads into an innovative organizational outcome. So these are 4 levels of the 11 levels that I walk my clients through. And this is the work I help do in improving that by building decision ready teams that can adapt, innovate, and transform in a world of constant change. So better equipped leaders create better environments. It's all about building your capability as a leader to enable your team to make decisions faster. That is the overall premise of how you can transition from a team who's responding as resistance. So I look at it when you see how people are acting, or you're saying they're more resistance. The people aren't resistant. You have to look at it as an outcome. This outcome of resistance, what is it reflective of? Because the people, the person, themselves are not resistant. Their outcomes are resistance in reflection to the change that you have introduced, the strategic objective that you have introduced, and it's all because of this scale. And that means that they're in more of a controlling leadership environment. So in control, and I'm gonna walk through these 3 areas. We have control. If you have in a leadership environment, direction, enablement, transformation, how do you know the type of environment that you're shaping for your team now? How do you know? So we'll start with control. And in control, it says like you're a leader that always has to make the important decisions. You are the leader that has to have all of the answers, and the team is thinking, well, I have to wait till my manager tells me. And it's all because of how things are designed. So this now you're going to see bottlenecks that are occurring. Momentum is not happening. People are slow to make decisions. There's low ownership, meaning if you are telling people this is a strategic objective that we're looking to, we want to empower teammates to work more on. The biggest one is continuous improvement. So how do we get teams to work more on continuous improvement? What are those things that we are focusing on? And if there's low ownership, there will be limited innovation. And ownership means that people are clear in how they can make a change. Hey, we have this, and the way to introduce change is to reframe how that conversation is going. That's one of the key things, is reframing how conversations are going. So if they're waiting for you to tell them that they are empowered to make a decision, that means the environment is still not indicative of them to feel comfortable to do that. And that's why they're waiting on you, which appears to be resistance. So in that's what happens with that outcome. So if you feel like you're experiencing that, then that means that the leadership environment that you're creating or have established right now is in a more controlling environment. And again, it's not about you being a good or bad leader. It is about reshaping the how work works. A lot of people are in traditional, historically, from the legacy standpoint, traditional workplace environments. So now that they are growing into being more innovative, a lot of the organizations, or most organizations, are not redesigning how their organization works. They're using old systems, and old systems will get old behaviors. They would get protective responses. People they becomes in protective mode. When you feel that your livelihood, I mean, the succession of your role and how transformation works and how change works, there will be people that it will naturally protect themselves, and because they're not clear in how they can move forward. So that protection of reserving themselves, not being more feeling more empowered to go into providing ideas and to share best practices, is removing the fear by reframing how you're introducing the change with a clear business workflow, with a clear strategic objective. The strategic objective If you're saying you want to empower teammates, for instance, a lot of my clients are working on empowering teammates and building trust. But the opportunity there is looking at what's the specific outcome. Is there a customer demand? Is there a customer, like what have the customer said to actually show how does your role contribute to this? What is the vision of the company? Why are you empowering us? Well, we want to be the leading A, B, and C. Well, in the leading A, how does your role have a direct influence in it, even if it's not seen? Sometimes the end of the line of where production, or when if you're manufacturing, at the end of the line where you customer care, where you're actively interacting with the customer, is easier for them to engage with them and get the concerns. But what about those processes that led up to the delivery of the service or the product? So that's the thing to look at as well. So enablement is direction. So we're going to go back to direction. And direction is where the leader believes that they will provide the answers. And the team is thinking, okay, tell us the right way. Tell us what we need to do. So, in the difference between the controlling and the direction is in the controlling, it is more of they are used to waiting for the next step. It's because they are being told what to do. So, when the direction of providing all the answers, it is because the leader themselves is trying to figure out all the answers before they engage. They are the ones who limit the ability for people to suggest improvement. So that means that the team is thinking, well, I'll just wait until they tell us what to do next. I'll wait to it. And then the organization, they experience great execution and reliable performance and limited adaptability. So the limitation in the adaptability is in the follow, they will do what you say, but it will limit their ability to adapt fully, meaning they'll follow what you say and they'll focus on the tactical versus the strategic level improvements that really drive transformation. And you will limit roles to do exactly what they're doing, just an improved version of that versus evolving and in their role to grow and see what are some possible ways that this role can innovate. So again, you will start getting consistency and outcomes. So it is a higher level than a controlling where people are slow to execute. And in the direction, you will get a consistency in people producing improvements and efficiencies, but is it used in a way that brings a competitive advantage? That's the difference. So enablement is the third tier, and that is when the leader is creating an environment where they help people make better decisions. So if you are helping people make better decisions, then they're thinking, I know ways that we can improve on this. So you do get faster learning, you do get better collaboration, you do have continuous improvement and greater resilience. So as change is being introduced, especially in the adaptation of AI, people are evolving how they want AI to be used. They're communicating these transformations. Continuous improvement in systems thinking are the core pillars for how this can be successful. But if that continuous improvement mindset or systems thinking approach is not improved, or meaning you're building those capabilities for your team to have, then that's when the adoption will be slower. So if you are enabling them to think, you're essentially introducing continuous improvement principles, which allows for you to have improvement. So the last tier, or the fourth tier I speak on, again, it's 11 tiers that are total, and what I walk clients through to show them how outcomes reflect what they're experiencing is transformation. So transformation is building people to lead without needing you. Building people to lead to equipping them to lead without needing you, meaning that the team already knows how to navigate successfully when they are introduced in a change. Is more collaborative. So you have a more collaborative team where you're speaking of higher level improvements versus task oriented efficiencies, and what you measure is different. You will be able to report transformations in a way that brings a competitive advantage in those executive level meetings that you're having to report how is your team adapting. But you're already could set, you will set precedent or set an example of how other leaders can build transformative environments, transformative leadership environments for their team, but how you engage, because now you have built internal use cases that can be communicated in communication plans, and it allows people to lead from where they are, and people remove the say the wall of like waiting to fit, waiting to for permission, or waiting to be told that they can lead. You are allowing them to know, no matter your title, you contribute to how this organization can evolve. This is a business outcome that we're looking to improve upon. This is a workflow that we can do. How do you see yourself improving it? Here's where your role is relevant. All of that communication occurs in transformative leadership environments where you're showing your team that you have a viable interest in their succession, but a viable interest in making sure that your team is successful in it. That's the key, so you can have the organizational outcome of innovation. So that in the outcome of innovation, you can look at what is the team experiencing, what is the decision type, what is the quality of the type of decisions that are being made, and you can assess that. If you can't report it in a way that brings a competitive advantage or it brings a viable improvement to how a process is performed and how decisions are made, then that means that the decision quality is a lower decision quality. Now, even if you can report efficiency improvement to decisions, it does not necessarily translate to being able to report it to a viable improvement, whether that's in driven revenue, in improved customer experience, and market positioning. From a manufacturing standpoint, productivity output and lead time, like how are you establishing better lead times, how are you improving customer service, and that goes across all businesses. Like each area, you want to be able to have people see how their role can be relevant to do it and what they execute on. And that it concludes our why do people resist? Why do people resist AI? And again, I'm Dominique Townsend. I help leaders build decision-ready teams that can adapt and innovate and transform a world of constant change. And just know that you are the leader that can improve and transform how work feels and is experienced. The key is understanding team responses as indicators for your ability to transform from a controlling or direction enablement standpoint to a transformative leadership environment for your team. So there are three ways that I can help you in supporting building the capability of your team to improve how work is done. The first way is through a program where you could be certified as a practitioner in team enablement. So how can you improve strategic execution? And it is a program with 8 modules that shows you how to empower your team, how to go from a controlling standpoint, a controlling leadership environment to a transformative leadership environment. And through that, there will be a series of exercises and direct insights that both of us will be working collaboratively on to support you. And that program is more information about that will be in the link in the description for this video. The other way is through my book, Inspired to Innovate. And Inspired to Innovate provides you with the framework that I use to help lead to adding $80 million in value in continuous improvement, productivity, performance, as well as employee engagement solutions. And the third way is just by directly contacting me. You can contact me on my website and just share what are some current challenges that you are experiencing as a leader or even as an organization. And we will have a conversation to see how our services can align if we fit in supporting your current needs for strategic objectives and driving transformation. In the meantime, have a blessed and optimized day and just know you are the leader that can make work feel good. See ya.